when you add the margin of error, which is a plus or a minus around those certain scores. So it said Newt Gingrich had 24%, Mitt Romney had 15%, plus or minus 5. They're the same. They're the same. By the time you add in the margin of error, these things are identical, right? And a margin of error, you can't say it's sort of directionally correct. It means, look, it's somewhere in this range. We pick the midpoint. Is the midpoint right? We don't know. But the margin of error in the case of Newt Gingrich versus Mitt Romney obviously proved to be pretty significant. They were pretty sure it was going to be one person, but that margin of error was something that we needed to deal with. So that's one thing we need to pay attention to. The other thing is margin of error assumes a random sample. When you're flipping a coin, you can be, you can accurately represent, heads or tails. 50% of the time it's going to be one or the other, because it's truly a random sample. When you're dealing with customers, who's giving you feedback?
Those that want to give you feedback.
Those that want to give you feedback. Why do they want to give you feedback?
Usually because they're angry.
Usually because they're angry. Sometimes because they're angry, right?
Sometimes because they love you.
Sometimes because they love you. I think in both of those cases, they have an emotional connection with your firm. They are engaged. It's either a cry for help, or it's an I love you kudo, right? They are engaged. So is it truly random? The people that are responding, is it random? Not random at all. In fact, all the research we've done have really found that scores almost always, and I would like to say always because I haven't seen a case where that's different yet, but I'm never allowed to say always. So almost always those scores are skewed positive because they're engaged with you. They're connected. The people who are checked out that don't care, they're not giving you feedback. They don't care. They're gone already. You just don't know it. It's not random at all. So when you're talking about statistically significant confidence, know that your sample is not random, and know that your scores are skewed positive, and you're not looking at a real representative population. They have an opt-in bias. Now another element is this, 95%. Has anybody seen this before or used it? We're like, we can be 95%, at the 95% confidence level, we think the score is within this range, right? Plus or minus 5%. Right? We all kind of have been trained, if have a statistics background, 95 is kind of a sacred number. Now you can go for 99, you can go for 5 nines, you can keep going. You can even lower it. You can say 80% confidence level, and all that statistics will help you understand what sort of sample size you need to set. But let me ask you this, right? What if you have one unhappy customer, right? Does that one unhappy customer matter? I think so, right? So 95% is sort of considered safe, sacred. But maybe there are situations where one customer matters. Maybe, could be, or one contact. Maybe if you're a B2B company, you've got a $10 million account, and you've got one person who's really unhappy. That one person might really, really matter. We've got to get to that person. The ultimate goal should be 0 detractors or 100% promoters. Right? We need to make sure that the needle's moving that way. Now, is a 5% confidence level better than 0% confidence level? I think so. So the point is, a lot of the statistics that we read and take from the scientific and research worlds have a smaller place in voice of the customer. This is a little bit more touchy-feely, right? We can't necessarily run the math and get to a magic answer, but we can get directionally some insight. All right, I'm going to, in the interest of time, let's see, so it's 2 o'clock. Let's go get into kind of what's the process. I like to think of us as voice of the customer or a customer experience Sherpa. We are the guides, right? We know how to do it. We know all about how to, again, remember, we're still talking about trustworthy data, right? So in this context of just collecting trustworthy data, we're not necessarily talking about statistically significant. We're not necessarily talking about running these deep surveys. What we are talking about doing is getting candid dialogues with the right people at the right time. And we're going to facilitate this process. So we probably have to first start off with, okay, who in this company knows who our customers are? Is that a problem for any of you guys? I mean, yeah, okay. You don't have to tell who you are. Anybody have a problem with just knowing who's our customer? Who believes that they have their CRM system is the source of truth, right? Who's got a great CRM system? No? Nobody? I mean, okay, so
We have a great system.
You have a great system.
The system is great,
Okay.
but the information in the system is not good.
Not so
It's
good.
not reliable, right.
Why is
And
that?
we just went through cleaning it up, 8 months ago, and we know that it's bad again.
yeah, it doesn't stay clean. Verilon
No.
needs to be hygiene pretty frequently. And you know what? One of the great things is voice of the customer kind of programs have that great side effect of cleaning up a lot of your customer data, right? So who knows the customer? You know, sometimes it's finance because they're sending the bills. Sometimes it's the consultants. Sometimes it's, there's a lot of different people. There are various people, ops, corporate folks. They're going to help us understand who the universe of our customer is. The next thing we got to do is who are the right contacts in that customer. So for B2C, this is, you've got the registered person. I went and bought some new phones. Did I fill out my registration card? Yeah. Was I the decision maker? No, actually. I just filled out the registration card. Who made the decision? Who made the purchase? Maybe somebody different. So we got to find out and be a little bit more targeted, a little bit more scientific, and it's kind of hard work. And frankly, whether it's B2B or B2C, this is where, in our experience, we probably spend 80% of our time. It's not about analytics. It's not about, kind of root cause. It's not, that stuff actually is much easier than this one in my experience. Does anybody have a different experience? Is it easy to identify that customer list?
No.
It's extremely hard. So tactics, we're going to talk about it. We're still going to get there, but if you're going to take away one thing from today, I hope it's this. I hope it's this idea that you got to start with a clean customer list, and you can't just go with what you have in the CRM system. We've got to start talking to people inside the corporation, tell them what it is we're trying to do and why, and get those right people. So maybe marketing understands from the Lego example. Maybe marketing folks can help us identify and get some feedback in that context. In sales, in B2B, it's probably your account teams, right? Your consultants and your salespeople and people managing the account. They know the account. They'll tell you who matters, but you got to give them what's in it for them. You got to tell them why they should be giving up their contact names. How are they going to make more money by helping you out? They're going to make more. How are they going to make more money by helping you out?
By increasing customer satisfaction, we're going to try to make sales for them.
They're going to make more money. 3 V's. Right? They're going to make more money, especially in the salespeople who know these customers. Now, again, B2B or B2C, they interact with a lot of people. They kind of know how these decisions are made, the buying cycle. They should be able to give you some insight into how to be able to reach the people that are involved, where those contact names might come from. B2B, I think you have it a little bit easier because you've got accountant teams that are there to have relationships with the customer. Give them the 3 Ds, give them the what's in it for them, show them where the money is, get them to help you out. And then we need to recruit for participation. We talked about this before. We want to make sure we have great response rates. And then we got to drive action, right? Then we got to drive action. But we've done, right, this is such a small piece of the experience. We've done so much of the work already up front. Now we're getting into trustworthy data. And here's an example. Phil said I could use this slide. I love this example. Right? During a recent survey, I received an email alert from one of my new customers. I followed up by meeting the customer to discuss his support issue. During our meeting, the customer also mentioned a requirement for a mobile solution, not only to follow up how to strengthen the relationship, but also identified a €20,000 opportunity that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten. Right? So this is the kind of stuff you got to show your salespeople. Help us not, they don't care about voice of the customer. They care about making money. This helps them make money. That's great. We're all aligned. It's good. We're going to talk their talk. We're going to help you make money. So finally, once we've identified that that key element, then we can get down to action, which is all about getting a root cause. So I'm going to introduce a little bit of an exercise, and I don't know if I have enough handouts, but we are going to break up into teams so you can share. Before I pass these out, in the back you probably can't see this too clearly, so let me explain what's on the screen. This is a client of ours that has a number of different products that they sell. They wanted to get feedback specifically about the product experience, right? And for these different products. So what did we do? Well, the first thing we did was take a look at, without even looking at scores, without even looking at the specific feedback, we wanted to get a sense of the trustworthiness of this data set. So what do you see? We've got product 1, product 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The blue bar is the percentage of their installed base. So we went to them and we said, okay, how many customers own this product? How many customers own this product, right? And we just plotted out the percentage of the installed base, right? Percentage of the sample that they gave us, the contact file that they gave us to be able to get feedback. That's the second bar. And someone tell me what color that is, because I'm colorblind. It's red. I think. Yeah. Okay. Red. And then this is green, I think. So that one is how many people responded. So there's your 3 bars. What jumps off the page?
There's a huge response in product 3.
Product 3 has a much better response rate.
But product 4 there are more installations of product 4.
Product 4 is a huge percentage of their revenue.
So you have several products that are hardly represented at all.
Right?
Yeah.
Several products that are hardly represented at all. So, for example, let's just look at this. We haven't even looked at scores yet. We haven't even actually gotten the voice of the customer in the traditional definition. But look how much insight there is just on this page. What do we see? Well, product 4 is a huge amount of customers, huge amount of revenue, but a pretty bad engagement rate. We don't know who they are. We totally don't know who they are because look how much the file is represented. So we don't even know who they are. And then look how many responded, right? Their response rate, really bad. And response rate, we said, is indicative of the relationship strength. Who is going to respond? Those people that have an emotional connection with you. So product 4, it's a bad sign. Product 3, how about product 3? Right? Smaller percentage of the install base, reasonable percentage of the sample file, and a great response rate. Those guys seem to be doing something right. I mean, again, we have to dive in deeper, but there's a lot of insight right here. So, how many of you, when you're dividing your program, I won't put anybody on the spot, but I guess does this idea of segmenting your customer base into these portfolios, slicing your customer base into these portfolios, does that make sense? We've got a product 1 portfolio. How strong is the relationship? How strong is product 1? How strong is product 3 compared to product 4? How are those assets performing? We can start to get a clear definition of that. And we can't do it by aggregating data. We can't have an overall score. I hate Net Promoter Score because it aggregates that way. I hate customer satisfaction scores for the same reason. You can't have a score. I drive not every day, on a regular basis, I drive past this billboard from a bank that says we have 95% customer satisfaction. Can anybody please tell me what that means? I mean, seriously, I have no idea what that means. If 95% of their customers are satisfied, that means 5% are not satisfied. That means 95% of them, I don't know, satisfied? Yeah, I was satisfied with, I'm satisfied with the temperature in this room. I mean, these things are not very indicative. We need to get it into a specific portfolio, specific slice. So the moral, anybody ever try to cross a river that's 3 feet deep on average? Yeah, you did. You have? It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You usually fall in a hole at some point.
Usually, yeah. I mean, so right. Beware of these 3 foot deep rivers. You're probably going to drown because there are going to be pockets that are much better or much worse. So let's start to get away, or let's totally get away from averages and total counts, total, average number. What we got to do is remember those portfolios. Everything we do has got to be inside a portfolio. And I love this little comment, right? Eventually, I'd like to get married, settle down, and have 2.5 kids. I don't know, right? There's no such thing as half a kid. So what are we talking about, right? Don't talk about our average score is 9.8 or 6.3, or I don't know what that means. But if we say we've got 20% of our customers love us, that's it. That's an interesting number. 20% of our customers for this portfolio love us. It's an interesting number. What makes it more interesting is, well, for this portfolio, 40% of our customers love us. So what's different? Let's look at the differences and try to see where we can flesh this out. So response rates we've kind of talked about. Here's a real example. This was actually from a B2B company that was on they have a recurring subscription revenue. It's a software company that has an annual subscription. They went out, they did a survey, they said, look how great we are. 68% net promoter scores. That means, they had 71% promoters and only 3% detractors. Look how great we are. This puts us on track with folks like Apple and Amazon, right? Has anybody seen these kinds of press releases? Yeah? Do you believe them? I think Rob Markey talked the other day about sort of top-down versus bottom-up, getting your customers engaged, measuring from your own customers versus a broader market research study. What they were failing to realize is that 68% perceived net promoter score, but look, they only had a 21% response rate, so that meant they had this blind spot of 79% of their customers where they had no idea what was going on. And so what did we do? We took a look at those response rates and tied it to the financials. Nothing really sexy, nothing really difficult. We just looked at what were the repurchase rates. We went back in time and said, okay, they gave us feedback. Did they subsequently renew? Right? Well, those people who responded renewed almost 1 for 1. Those people that responded, yeah, it was a pretty good indication. Those people who didn't respond, 77%, right? Versus, now what they were doing was looking at that overall average. They were saying our average retention rate is 80%. How do we get it higher? Well, first of all, stop looking at averages. You've got to break it into the portfolios, and then you want to probably start managing into groups of your customers, by sentiment, or but whatever metrics might make sense. But stop looking at averages. And in this case, I mean, look at this. It's sort of glass is half empty, half full. But we see, this was a 3% churn rate versus a 22% churn rate, 7x. Customers who didn't respond were 7 times more likely to churn than those who did respond. In this example, right? That's pretty significant. So what do we need to do? We need to go out and build relationships with our customers to get them to respond. We need to get them to respond. We need to get them to give us feedback. That means we need to show them that what's in it for me. We need to get them engaged. So that's what I want to say. See if you can find some statistics to prove it. I'm going to pass these things out. Actually, there's not one for everybody, but I wonder if we can get into teams, maybe B2C versus B2B and B2C. Can we create 4 teams? How many people do we have? Maybe we need 5 teams. Because we're gonna take 5 minutes on this exercise, and we're gonna take a break.
How is the room split B2C?
Yeah,
About
let's
30.
kind of share. There's not enough for everybody, so if you can kind of spread them out.
Groups of 6, there's about 30 of you in here.
There's about
5
30
groups
folks.
of 6.
Yeah, 5 groups of 6. Can we do that?
Sure. You want to join our
Yeah. So here's the deal.
Are you B2B?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm B2B.
We're going to find trustworthy data. I passed out a little example.
You guys B2B? Yeah?
We've got some
So
data
maybe
from
with
some of
those
our
guys.
customers.
Pass them back, thanks.
If you're B2C, then you can kind of ignore that account name column. Column A will say the name of the account, the name of the customer. So if you're in a B2C group, you can kind of ignore that one. B2B, then those are grouped.
we're B2B right up here.
We've got 3 of us.
Are you guys B2B?
Has to come up.
Okay, well then we've got 6 right here.
Okay.
These guys are ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can move over here.
Okay, yeah. Is everybody kind of moving around, getting in a group? All right, and real quick, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to see if we can find some statistics within what you got. See if you can, what we want to know is the data trustworthy or is the data not trustworthy? And I want you to spend like 2 minutes kind of looking at it, discussing in the group, seeing what you see. You're going to point a speaker, and I'd like each group to just briefly talk about whether they think the data are trustworthy or not and why. Any questions?
Yeah, can you repeat that one more time, Steve?
Yeah, so take a look at this spreadsheet, right? Take a look at what you see. Do you think the data are trustworthy? Representing the business, or are they not? Where are they trustworthy? Where are they not trustworthy? What do you think? And appoint a speaker, and with about 30 seconds to a minute or so, kind of be ready to present why you feel if it's trustworthy or not. So those are scores. So yeah, let me explain what's on the numbers are the scores for specific questions. So overall value, overall quality, overall ease. It looks like it didn't kind of print out quite right, but and then there's an overall loyalty score. They just didn't. Yeah, value, quality, and ease. And do we have the overall loyalty? We don't have the overall loyalty on there, but that's okay. That's okay. We're just looking at trustworthy data. Just looking at, is the data trustworthy?
It's the first one, revenue. It's like the first one.
So you've got sales, right? Broken down to different regions with different sales reps. Those are dollars. Yeah, sorry, the sales column are dollars. The sales column is dollars is the size of the account.
And where this is our sent to and where we got our response from.
That's right. Yeah, and where there's no scores, that means those people didn't respond.
Okay, so there are 6
Only going to get 2 responses represented.